Hello everyone, it's Martha Burgess Novak, and I'm so glad to talk with you today. We are talking about a variety of things. Man, has this been a busy week, has it not? Our friend Jay, I just talked to him on the phone, and he was saying that all the planets in the system are going retrograde. Oh my word, it feels like it, huh? Lots going on, and a lot of internal things going on too in all of us. So we are so glad to be here each week where we talk about life and what it's teaching us and how we can learn it better, at least in my case, huh? So let's do a quick prayer to put us all on the same page. There are some things on my mind today about balance, and I thought we could talk about that. That's rather a confusing subject, and it seems so easy. And I think that because it seems so easy, we often beat ourselves up. Why can't we be more balanced? We vilify ourselves for being overwhelmed sometimes. And it's just part of life, and we're going to talk to you about how you can keep your balance and feel better about everything, and how to do this well and what it's all about. So let's do our prayer. Dear God, who is all there is, you who are all we are and all everything is in this world, we are so grateful to be here in love and opening ourselves to know more and to be more loving to ourselves and to all mankind. We thank you so much right now as we ask to see, hear, sense, and know what you would have us do as we open to the truth that lies in your enlightenment. We now give up knowing anything, for it is the you in us and in all things that do know it all. And we now surrender our fine brains to the highest self of us, that we may understand what you would have us do next in the day-to-day as we open to love and enlightenment and who you are as us in all things. We thank you so much, dear God. We say this prayer in your name and in the name of the Ascended Masters, our love-centered guides and friends, and in the name of everybody listening in. And so it is. Amen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I thought we would start off today. We're taking phone calls, by the way, I should say. Our guest call-in number is 347-850-1647. You can see why I have to wear glasses. 347-850-1647. And that is our call-in number. If you are listening, we are delighted. We are on blogtalkradio.com, so you can either listen on that or you can catch us on Facebook Live each week if I am doing the technology correctly. All right. So if I'm talking about balance, I actually went to the dictionary because we use balance so often, and we kind of bandy it around, and it does mean different things, and it certainly means something in consciousness that we should know about. So I found a definition that said, after I played with it a little bit, it's a condition in which different elements are in correct proportion. Now, I thought that one was a good definition for us because the inner experience has to be in balance with the outer experience, the inner experience completely balanced within itself, and the outer experience balanced within itself as well. I will explain all this, and I'll give you some concrete examples. Usually with me, we start out in the abstract and we go down to a more specific thing. So, in my opinion, there are two kinds of balance. We have the inner balance and we have the outer balance. Now, the outer balance depends on the inner balance when we do it really, really well. I'm going to give you some tips today for the outer balance. And you may find them a little hard because a lot of this has to do with saying no and where your boundaries actually are and supporting those boundaries in a loving and nice way for yourself and for all and things like that. Well, sometimes that's really hard to do when we're still in the young mind, the egoic child's mind. We have a very hard time, first of all, even knowing where our boundaries are and what is a natural boundary for us that somebody crosses or not. We say, oh, we shouldn't say that, or we won't be loved or liked if we say that, or somebody will get mad with us, or we'll be shunned. Now, let me tell you, one of the wonderful things about maturing and growing up and being more responsible and more aware and more emotionally mature is knowing how to say no in the nicest manner and knowing where your boundaries are. Honestly, you do not know where your boundaries are as a child. We just don't. So when we're in that child's mind, that egoic child's mind, as opposed to the highest self, we don't know where they are. We're going to give you some tips today about that. But it's still going to be hard unless you do the inner work on yourself, which we call consciousness studies. Consciousness really is the key to everything. And it truly is, ladies and gentlemen, the new frontier. Truly is. So, before we begin this, I want to say to you that balance is not determined by your life condition. Balance is not determined by your life condition. In other words, great things do not have to line up on the outside for you to be balanced. I'm going to prove that to you. It's always nice when things line up on the outside, but the key is being balanced on the inside, and that makes you more resilient to anything that's going on the outside. You understand? Yeah, really. Now, look at everything that we've got. We've got more distractions than we ever have in all of life right now. I mean, we've got smartphones, we've got smart televisions, we've got smart cars, we've got a million people pulling on us, we've got lots of responsibilities, you've got work calling you at all hours, you've got a million things to do for your family, for your community, for yourself, I'm just hardly touching the tip of the iceberg. So I really do know what's going on with you because the same thing goes on with me and other people that I know. Nevertheless, we cannot be distracted. You remember that one of the things we just talked about. Balance is a condition in which different elements are in correct, that's correct for you, proportion. So if you let things get out of control, if you worry too much about this or that, well, that's really going to bring the dominoes down, isn't it? And that's when you come in here and you say you're overwhelmed. I understand that. I get it. It happens to all of us. You should not fuss at yourself for that, but you need to get back on the balance wagon. And that's what this show is about today, talking about that. You know, I don't think we can be fully conscious until we give things our conscious attention. We think that all attention is conscious, don't we? We really do. All attention isn't conscious because attention is just energy. And your energy is going a lot of places that you don't know where it's going. You don't know where because you're not aware of it. You're aware of something else. And it results in unhappiness, depression, and a lot of other things, sadness and other things that seem to come out of nowhere. And it doesn't come out of nowhere at all. I had a gentleman in the other day who was very upset about something at work, right? And he had a big fight with his wife later on in his week. And when we traced it back, it was because that was never resolved. He was still upset about something at work. And because of the unresolved nature of that, which he wasn't even consciously aware of until he just was upset. And then his wife comes along very innocently and says something to him, and there's World War III, you know? So it's really important to be more and more conscious. Now, that's something that the inner experience gives us, you see? Really does. So when we're talking about the inner experience, which is what I want to talk about next, I want to talk about the inner experience, and then I'm going to give you some tips for the outer experience, because when we talk about the inner experience, that's where the bang is. The outer experience, I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to tell you where this person's boundaries are and all that, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, that makes such sense. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that fascinating? You're going to have a hard time doing it yourself if the inner experience is not in place, you see? Okay. So, for you to be balanced in the inner experience, and this is asking a lot of you, I know, but this is what consciousness is all about. And by the way, consciousness isn't a goalpost and you're going to punt the ball over it, and get there. No, that's not what consciousness is. Consciousness is a way to live. It's a state of being. It's a state of looking at the world, and it's very open because there's always something else being revealed there. It's very exciting. Really, it is, and that the whole world reflects something going on the inner part of you. Fascinating. So here are some elements of balance that you should know about. Balance comes from knowing yourself and having a strong sense of self. No one likes to hear negative things about themselves. So nobody does. I mean, that's just a given worldwide, right? We all have a protective undercoat, a protective little white belly, that we're all protecting. I think of little animals, and a little cat that we've gotten. It's a small kitten, and it has a little white belly. That's why I said that. And we feel so honored when the little thing lets us rub its belly without overreacting. It's, when we're very calm with it, very sweet. But we're all protecting that little belly. And it's interesting because when these things happen in life, when people do overreact, and we are the target of that, or we are the target of some sort of criticism. I think that when you are in this spiritual work, it's really important to say, what do I have to do with this? What is my part in this? It may be a little falseness. It may be a lot of different things. We genuinely may have done something. But sometimes when we are innocent, we have to realize we really are very nice people. We would not wish anyone ill. And if we are misunderstood, that sense of self, knowing who we are, helps us go to the other person and say, I'm so sorry, but there's been some sort of misunderstanding. And I'd like to get to the source of this because I want to be right with you. I want to have a great relationship with you. What has happened here? What are you thinking you understand about me that you might not have? What have you misconstrued that I've said or done? Now, that seems pretty easy. I'll tell you when it's not easy. When you believe them. When you believe them, guess what you do? You're defensive. Because defensiveness is when you believe the other person and what they're saying is true, but you don't want to admit it to yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. Because when you have a good sense of self, you simply are, and you want to work this out. and you know who you are. Now, if you think everybody's walking around but you, knowing who they are, you've got another thing coming, because this is part of what you discover as you do any kind of consciousness studies. You find out who you are. Okay. Now, number 2 in this how to achieve balance on the inside is knowing what you need. Knowing what you need. Now, this takes some doing too, because we are a developing, growing, evolving little thing. And these needs and these interests do change. I mean, years ago, I wanted to be the best screenwriter in the world and the best actor and the this and that and the other. I don't want any of that now. I want a wonderful radio show right now with you. I would love to touch you in some way. I would just like to talk to you today about this. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that a change? But I can tell you, I'm right here, and there's no place I'd rather be. That's a different. Okay. So as we go into consciousness, new talents, new gifts, new abilities, they open in you. We don't know always what we want, but we find out in this work, and it's always good. It's always absolutely wonderful. It's always something we want. It's always something that truly matches our core talents, gifts, abilities, and purpose, by the way. And purpose. In this that we're talking about right now, in this giving yourself what you need, you discover what your balance points are. Now, you have balance points even in the ego child's mind, but you really know what they are, what really satisfies you in your deep core, in the highest self. When I look at my own life, when I talk about my balance points, in other words, what I need to have in my life as a substance to hold on to and live my life and enjoy my life with, I look that in the ego child's mind, I liked the same things, but it was undeveloped. It was undeveloped back then. Again, it was all ego. I wanted to be a great screenwriter, wanted to do this, wanted to do that. These days, I realize my balance points in the mature mind is creativity. Creativity in all forms. I love my garden. I love to write. I love to see what happens next. I love to make jewelry. I love to play. I love the creativity of a great conversation. Creativity in all its forms is not only a balance point for me, but a real value for me. And I will take it in any form that comes. Yes, I still write screenplays. Yes, I do all that. But it's part of the whole and not the whole itself. You understand? Good. Now, so what are your balance points? It is important for you to know whether you are in the undeveloped mind or in the developed mind, and that's just our path, that we go on. It's really important not to even, not to do anything, but know your balance points right now. It's very important. It was really interesting to me. I had this lesson really come home to me because I am married to a darling Austrian man. And when I would go to Austria, I don't speak German. I spent my life learning French. Oh well, the life surprises you. And these days I'm so involved in my business and in my writing and everything, there's not a whole lot of time and energy, quite frankly, to learn German right now. I try to learn a little bit. By the way, I studied a language tape, and they taught me to say, "Wollen Sie mit mir kommen?" which means, "Won't you come with me?" And so I said that to my husband and said, "So here's what I learned." And he said, "You really can't say that to many people." So I said, okay, so much for the language tape. They need to actually do one that is what you need to say to your mother-in-law, and then I think that would be very valid. Okay, back to work. So I realized on my first trip, a few trips over there, that I was unhappy. How could I be unhappy? I've got this great new husband. I'm in this most beautiful place, Vienna. Why was I unhappy? And I realized I didn't have any of my balance points. There was no garden. There's nothing to be creative with in my world in a little, tiny apartment, hotel room. No cooking. Love to cook. I didn't have time to write because we're seeing our friends and our family. I had no animal with me. Animals are really a balance point for me. And the list went on and on. That was why I was unhappy. So I made sure. Now we have a little dog, so he goes with us. And I do try to do very creative things, and I reach out for my precious daughter. I hope she's listening today. Hello. That's really fun for me, and we have conversations that are deeper than I might have with a stranger over there. You see? We have to make ourselves happy, ladies and gentlemen. We can't just drown with no balance points. You better know what yours are. And that's the rub, isn't it? Knowing what they are so you can meet your own needs. Sometimes we just don't know, so we don't do anything instead of opening our minds and looking for them. There you are, trying this and that. Okay, the next thing in developing an inner balance is meeting those needs on a consistent basis. You see why I was unhappy. I meet my needs around here all the time. There's so much for me to do, and I love every bit of it. Then nothing. That was not going to work, and it's not going to work for you either. I have a lot of people that get so excited at a certain level of their progress with me, and they're thrilled, and they'll go out and they'll do something, and then they stop. Guys, you can't stop. You can't just give yourself something and stop. I mean, you can, but boy, that'd make you very happy. This is a discipline, not a routine. That's not what I'm talking about. Routine is different from a discipline. A discipline, a way of living, making sure that whatever you need in your life gets in there. So let's say you love to read and you marry a non-reader. You should give up reading? I don't think so. You've got to build that into your day. You married someone that loves to go to the gym all the time and you don't go to the gym, you're not that physical? Great, let them go to the gym. You do something else that you love. It's really important that everybody gets what they need for balance, and they have to do it in a consistent manner. Okay. The interesting now thing about that, and this is point number 4, and you'll be happy to know my last one. Contributing out of this sense of self, out of this whole experience of consciousness, makes you feel really good. It's what you're supposed to do with what you know and who you are, right? And contributing to the good of all because of your balanced state, in turn feeds your balance by giving back to you. In other words, if I have been kind and generous and balanced to myself, I am so happy that I can then go to the grocery store and make everybody feel good around me, not because I want anything from them, but because I know that kind of experience and love and happiness, and I want to share it. They in turn, what? Smile at me and are kind to me, and that just feeds the loop. And by the way, all of our relationships are that loop. Those are the 4 points to me that are extremely important for our balance. Now, I wanted to tell you about the outer experience. The outer experience. People that are in the egoic child's mind who are journeying to higher consciousness. And I'm speaking for myself and just about everybody else in this. We don't know what normal is. You see, when you are a kid and something hurts you and there is no recourse for you but to live with it, you know, one of the things we do with it is we normalize. We do 3 things with it, actually. I might as well stop here and tell you. We do 3 things. We generalize. In other words, we have a mean mother and we'll say all women are mean. That's a generalization, right? But children do that in all sorts of ways. The second thing is we normalize it. Our father beats us. We say, well, everybody's father beats them, don't they? Right? And we actually think that. And then the third thing is we will elevate our experience to some sort of godly proportion. We will say, now all this is to help us cope with our situation, but we'll say something to the, something like suffering gets us closer to God. So we don't want to give up our suffering in the pattern. We'll actually perpetuate our pattern of suffering because we believe, oh, well, it gets us closer to God, which is something that you formed when you were little just so you could stand it, stand in the situation. Okay. So we grow up, no matter what kind of family we had, not knowing what normal is. Now, is there really a normal? No. But there is something that we mean when we say, is it normal? And that is, what is your specific, quotes, range of normal? You see, you have a range of normal. Your range of normal may be different from mine. I came from a real artsy-fartsy family, and I grew up in the theater and in film, so I kind of take chances sometimes that you might not want to take. My range of normal may be different from yours. Heck, I would no more do an extreme sport. I wouldn't even get on a roller coaster, so your range of normal may be real different from mine. Nevertheless, we all have a range of normal. And we need to know what that is. Now, I want to tell you a story, because I had a darling client of mine who told me something that was wonderful. She is from the Northeast, and she has just moved to a beautiful spot up on the mountain overlooking a lake. Oh, it's gorgeous. And a whole bunch of her family descended on her this last week. they brought there were 3 generations there, maybe even 4. No, there were 3 generations there. And the house was crowded with kids, and it was absolute chaos. She and her husband is very passive. So he was saying, everything's fine, nothing bothers me, it's just fine, let them tear up the house. Now, my client is very neat. She's extremely neat. She's neat to excess because she came from a very chaotic family. So she's very OCD about everything. Everything has its place, everything has its order. So you can see how confused she was because she felt, because of her OCD, that she couldn't speak up to have even a moderately clean house. Do you understand? But there is a normal order that should be there. I mean, what is the normal order? Personally, I wouldn't want anything lying all over the floor because people are going to trip on it and fall. So the rule is, in my house, you better pick up what gets put on the floor. I have animals too, so I got to tell you, you better take your bag and put it up because the dog's going to get in it, you know. Let's keep everything off the floor. And there's a nice way to say that, but you see, but when you've got something like an obsessive need to have everything clean and ordered, this situation could really upset you. And it upsets you for 2 reasons. I'm coming to my phone calls too. Thank you so much for calling in. It upsets you for 2 reasons. One of the reasons is you don't know what you need in a normal sense. And the other reason is you're afraid to speak up because it may reveal that you are over the top and you may make an enemy because you don't know what normal. So you got to find out. You've got to find out what your range of normal is. Your range of normal. This woman's range of normal was obviously different from her husband's. She said nothing that bothered the hell out of her. She did not have a good time with her family. Not one bit. Because when they left, it was like a tornado blew through. She didn't enjoy that. There was a balance that she did not think of before this happened. Therefore, she could not protect her own property, her own experience, and her own balance, and make friends and in the process and just have some simple rules. Another person that I know, and this was another family, they got really upset when they had a house guest because they have a multi-storied house. So what they do is they put what they need to take upstairs on the step. All right. Well, this woman put her grandchild's stuff on the step, and then was very upset when her daughter and son-in-law did not take those things upstairs, but nobody told them to take it upstairs. It's not their range of normal. It's not their rule. It's not their balance point. It was hers. She needed to say, the reason those things I put on the stairs, the reason I put those things on the stairs is so you can take them upstairs. But you see, when we are in the child's mind, we're afraid to do that. It's very hard for us. So the whole thing is to come out of the child's mind, to go into consciousness, to do some of these things that I'm saying for yourself so you can be in the adult mind, so you can graciously say to them, now, here's the way it's going to work. I'm going to put things on the stairs that are yours because I certainly don't want them to get lost and we don't want them cluttering the floor. And if you will, just every time you go upstairs, young springy legs that you have, take them upstairs for me. Done. And you get what you want. You remember that the only reason anybody ever argues is about 2 things. I don't care whether you're arguing with your spouse, or whether you're arguing with someone at work, or whether you're arguing with a total stranger out there on the road. It's based on 2 things. The first one is, you don't care about me. Sometimes this is completely irrational because a car could cut us off in traffic. And the reason we're so upset is not just because they frightened us, but because you don't care about me. Doesn't have to make sense. It's all in the emotional body, kids. I'm telling you, that's true. So we are always set off for these two things. You don't care about me, and I never get what I want. If you can get beyond those two things in consciousness, you've got a great life, because those are the source of all unhappiness. All right, let's go to our callers. Yay! Love callers. This is an 843 exchange. To whom am I speaking?
Hi, good morning. I was just listening.
Oh, you're just listening? Okay, well, we're glad to have you. I'll have to leave the line open then, okay?
Okay.
You don't want to speak on the radio? You don't have anything to say?
Oh, no, I was just listening, words of encouragement. I'm kind of all over the place in my mind right now. So
okay, well,
trying to get grounded.
That's no problem at all. We are often all over the place. That seems to be the human condition this week particularly. Well, by all means, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have something to say, by all means, speak up, okay? We had another caller that we just lost, so I hope they will call back. All right, going on with what I was saying, and please feel free, guys, to call in at 347-850-1647. I'd really love to talk with you about this subject or any other subject that you have, but particularly balance, I think this week is on many of our minds. And I think it's real important that we find out how to do this and how to do this well. One of the things that occurs to me as I seem to be discussing this subject, but I hope you will discuss it with me. One of the things that I think you can certainly take away from the story that I've just told you about my friend up in the Northeast is that there is a difference between knowing what your boundaries are and exerting an egoic control. There's a difference. Knowing where your boundaries are and lovingly speaking up for them is very different from controlling. And keep in mind that in the obsessive compulsive energies, you are controlling. You are cleaning your house to the nth degree because you got to control the emotions that are in you from something. You see? And it's a real important thing to know that you're in that kind of energy. And I'd like to talk to you about that kind of energy right now, so you can differentiate that from just simply what your boundaries might be and how to speak up for them in a loving manner. When you are in any kind of obsessive compulsive energy, when you are working from that kind of energy, you're going to have a great deal of anxiety if you change. This caused a great deal of anxiety in this client of mine, all this chaos. Now, by the way, I don't think I have any obsessive compulsive anymore, maybe here and there. But I remember years ago, whenever I tried to change from something, change my behavior from something, it caused a lot of anxiety. So try to change a little bit. For example, if you dress the same way or you're cleaning your kitchen and scrubbing it with a toothpick, stop. Try to stop and see if that gives you any anxiety. If it does, it's this energy that we're talking about. Another thing that can tell you where you're in this energy, excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of tea. Another thing that tells you you're into this energy is a really funny story I had with a dear friend of mine, another client of mine. So he came in and he had had an argument with his wife. And in this argument with his wife, he made this statement to me, very firm. He said, my wife should support her husband. A wife should. And I had just given him a lecture on OCD, right? And he stopped. And he just looked shocked. And I hadn't said a word. I'm just sitting there at my desk watching this, right? And this is one of the reasons I adore my clients, because they heal themselves, at one point. And he stopped and he went, oh, that's OCD. It's my wife should support me, God damn it. That is the key. It's that God damn it energy at the end of the line, I said, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that we always hope that the wife should support the husband and the husband should support the wife is just, what we would like to have. But is certainly the obsessive compulsive energies. So that's how you can tell. Now, and again, you've got to determine what's your range of normal, where's your boundary in this, and you've got to be emotionally mature enough to speak up for those boundaries, you see? So let's talk about what that sounds like. I think I'm going to make this up because I can't remember. That happened several years ago, this last story I just told you about my client and the wife that should support him. So let's just say that she asked too much of him in the day and never let him have some time to himself. Let's just say that. So if he goes to her and he says, darling, I want to talk with you about something, and I know that you get a lot of energy from being with people and me, and certainly I love that too, but I'm built so that I need some quiet time and some quiet space to be reflective and to have an inner experience. So I just want you to know that I'm going to tell you sometimes that I'm going to my study, and it's because I really need some space. It isn't that you have done a thing. It isn't that you are not a wonderful person. It isn't that I don't love you, because I really do. It's just a requirement of mine. I need some alone time. So I just wanted you to know that. Okay, that's the highest self. Another one. So let's go back to my friend in the Northeast that had the family that came. I think she needs to have a great family meeting and say, okay, everybody, here's how it's going to work, okay? And because there are little kids involved, I certainly would say, we're going to pick up all our toys. When we finish with them, we're going to put them on the stair so they can go upstairs, and everybody, and one of the rules of the house is nobody goes upstairs with empty hands. Everybody takes something off the stairs and up, and here's what we're all going to do. Everybody gets a special piece of candy at the end of the night to thank you for doing that and for us having some order in this house. That's just great. We want you to play and play all over the floor, but those things then belong upstairs, and I sure would appreciate it, because we could fall and you might lose something and not be able to take it home because we can't find it. It'll be under the sofa or something. You understand? So let's do this. Does everybody agree with me? Yay! Okay, then there we go. But when you're in the ego child's mind, you don't know your issue from their issue. You don't know. And you're afraid to find out and to exert yourself. You understand? I started out saying you've got to, when you are in balance, you've got to learn to say a loving no. We don't realize, because in the ego child's mind, we're resentful, we're angry, we feel deprived. Every ego child's mind, everyone, any country, Everybody feels that way in the ego, because the ego has learned to be fearful, and in that fear, we believe in lack. Of course, these are things that are absolutely opposite the wonderful experience of the highest self, which is all based in love and in plenty, right? So what we do is we try to control things. That's the way your child did it. And even by not controlling things, I want you to realize this now. Let's go back to my friend in the Northeast. By her not controlling anything, she controlled everything. And you can say, but she didn't get what she wanted. And I say, that's my point exactly. That's the old script. She never gets what she wants. Everything's out of control. She has to work herself to death to straighten everything up after the chaos leaves, because the world is chaos. She's never going to get what she wants, and nobody cares about her. Old doors. You hear me talk about old doors. That's an image that I always have, is that there's a door. It's our childhood door. It's what we always go through. And there it is. And she just went through it. And that's control. Because how she would fix that is to know her boundaries, to stay in the room with the children and the adults, and to say what she wants in a loving way. And even negotiate if this is a situation where negotiation is necessary, like in business. But darlings, that's her house. If it's your house, you do get to make the rules. Okay. Now, if you would like to call in, and by the way, I understand on Facebook Live, and I'm new to this, but I understand on Facebook Live that you guys can send me questions or comments. I've certainly gotten a few of them today, but I haven't gotten some that type in and ask me questions or comments about this. So you're welcome to do that rather than talk to me on the air. I had a dear friend that said maybe people don't want to talk on the air, maybe because you're seeing, they're seeing you. They're a little intimidated about saying anything. And I'm going to say we're kind here. We try to be. And I'm only 4'10" and a half. All of you could throw me across the room probably. So feel free to either call in or to write. And if I don't get a call in the next few minutes, I'm just going to go on and end the show, because I think I've said everything that I need to say today about balance. And I do want to say one or two things more as I am waiting for your calls. And that is, I think it's really important for you to know what your values are. I mean, we all have core missions, don't we? I mean, really, we may not know them. When I look back at my writing in high school, for example, I can see there was a spiritual element in everything. Not a spiritual element where I talked about my faith. That's not what I'm talking about. But I was asking questions about life and death. I was asking questions about purpose, and there was always a sense of unity. It was always trying to bring elements together, trying to bring people together, trying to bring ideas together. You look back at that, because it reveals in its undeveloped state a core mission, your values that result in a core mission for you. We're all looking for our divine purpose. And I want to say divine purpose isn't something that just revealed early on in your life. You work to it. You evolve to it. You open to these things as you go, as you learn, as you experience. When I started out, I I was a child actor, and I got into teaching, and I got into film, and I taught all of that. And then it was a natural course for me to go in and teach this in businesses, the techniques that I film and theater techniques, to business people that wanted to give better presentations. And by the way, that was not what they came to me for. That's what they thought they came to me for. But it was a reinvention of themselves on a higher level of experience of who they were, of course. And so we had that, and then it was the funniest thing, because as I was doing this work and teaching these things in business, people started rushing the stage, literally, on the breaks, and they would corner me and they would say, we know what you're talking about. You're talking about the soul. You're talking about God. You're talking about doing business from this higher place. And I thought, why am I just calling it energy? Why don't I just be honest? And here we are. It has its application to everything, consciousness. It really does. And when I say it's the new frontier, there's so much more we have to learn. There's so much that we have to know, so much we have to do, so much we have to give this world, that really what this radio show is about is trying to get you out there to spread the word so that more and more people will heed the call. You know, I do think this is a calling. And I don't think this is everybody. I have a lot of people that come to me and they say, I want my husband or I want my wife to be in this. I want my partner to be in this. And it's great, but I'm going to say they're going to change anyway because you change. So let's just concentrate on you. And everything opens up for them. So come on. There's no reason not to do this. And you don't need a partner to go along. I have a dear partner. I have a great partner. He talk this language. He understands it when I talk it, and he very much supports me in this because he knows how important it is to me, and he even knows how important it is to him. But not in this language. Language is the least of it, isn't it? I think so too. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this show on balance. We have Jay calling in, so let's go there first. Jay, hey darling.
Hey Martha, thanks for taking
sweetie.
my call.
What, darling?
Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, good heavens. For some reason, we've had a lot of calls today, and every one of them dropped away. But you, I think that sometimes people don't want to talk on the radio, and I don't know. I have a girlfriend that says, well, maybe they're intimidated by Facebook Live, so I just keep talking. That's all. And my husband says, well, you never run out of words, so why would that be a problem? So, darling, I know that people that are listening in and that have listened in for a while want to know about your mama. Would you tell everybody? Everybody, she had a very serious operation. So.
Yeah, my mother had an operation for her cancer on Friday actually. So it was a very long operation, about 4 or 5 hours. She spent some time in recovery, and yesterday she was actually getting help walking around to make sure that she doesn't have any blood clots or anything like that. Yeah. And she's on the road to recovery. And even though this cancer is very aggressive, so I don't know how much time I have with my mother, but at least it's how would you call it? It's a wake-up call, basically, for my mother, too. So, and I'm grateful for all the prayers that were for
yeah,
people,
it's kind of a wake-up call for everybody. You know, I'm not just talking about you, but we all have I used to think, and there have been times in my life when I'm not making anything happen, or when things are happening to me or things are not happening to me. It just seems like my life is the desert of Sahara. I mean, that's happened to me before. No life is that. And sometimes it seems to go too fast to help us process, to not give us enough time to process things. But, the fact is, whether we think of it as the desert of Sahara, or whether we think of it as, man, this is going too fast, we should slow down a little bit, we do all have a limited time together, and I think it's so important that we get the most out of it that we can. So when you talk about a wake-up call, it's not just yours, Jay, although you are having the experience, but you are reminding all of us that, wow, let's treat each other well. Let's make the most of what we've got. So good for you getting that and understanding. Jay, what did the doctors say about this aggressive cancer? What was the nature of this? Was it to, this operation, was it to get the cancer and give her more time? Was it to just, exactly what's going on here?
Is to cut up the tumors, which I don't know which are benign or cancerous, and.
But is it that? Is it to? Did they leave cancer in there, or could they have gotten everything, or do you know?
Do they? Pardon me. Sorry.
Well, I was wondering. A lot of times in cancer operations, it is they say we got all the cancer, and we don't see any more cancer in your mother's body. And then sometimes they say we got some of it and we extended her life. What was the nature of this operation? Was it to get, do they think they've gotten everything, or what's the nature of this?
Oh, okay. So the thing is that with this cancer, they took out some things to took out the tumors, but the thing is that we don't know. The probability of this actually really working out, according to statistics, is actually very low, actually.
Okay.
It's one of the most aggressive cancers out there, so.
All right.
And, yeah.
Jay, you are reminding me of something that I think I'll say to everybody. I think one of the blessings of this consciousness that you are so into right now is that there is a tolerance for not knowing. You have to be tolerant for not knowing. Otherwise, you're just going to worry yourself into, sickness yourself. I'm not talking, by the way, about you specifically. This is just in the global you that I'm talking to. Because it's very important that we've got to realize that part of life is a tolerance for not knowing. There are so many things that we don't know. So many things we're not supposed to know right now. And if you don't know this thing right now and all the ins and outs of it, there is actually a spiritual element to that, which is trust and faith and going within and listening, and this tolerance for not knowing is really the antithesis of control, isn't it? So what we do when in our giving up control over, by the way, things we have no control of anyway, but this is the typical thing that would make somebody go clean the refrigerator with a toothbrush because they don't have control over their mother's health. all of a sudden we have to give that up if we are in this higher energy, and we say, okay, I'll be tolerant with not knowing. I'll stay and stay in this energy of not knowing, and it's okay. So I just wanted to put that on the table. You always make me think of things to say like that. And Jay, I have had the privilege of talking to you a lot, and I know that you are certainly trying to find your peace in that, and I want to say good job, because this isn't easy what you're going through right now.
Yeah, no, it isn't actually. So,
how you doing with that?
Well, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, my job is in kind of jeopardy right now too. So,
yeah, has there been any information about that?
They laid off 6 people from the company.
Yeah, you told me that last week, but there's no news about you or your status there that has not changed.
No, I just see him being watched a lot, actually, a lot. So I just have this funny feeling.
Yeah.
So I might have to do some protection. So just keep it day by day and just look for another job. So.
Well, absolutely. And I say again, look for the contributions you can make around there in spite of this. What everybody, Jay, is going to do when there is danger nearby is we all turn into, and please don't please don't think that I'm insulting you because I'm talking about just all of us. When something is imminent and we are in danger, be it our job or our family members or us in some way, we're like little animals we get real still and we don't breathe deeply, and we're, if you will think of that little rabbit under the bush when a dog is nearby or something. But actually in a situation like this, you benefit from not going into that energy, even though other people in your organization may. You benefit from looking and seeing what you can contribute. Now, I still say you need to look for another job. I still say that. But I also will say with all my heart, try to get out of that energy, and while you're looking for another job, contribute, see where you can add value and that kind of thing, where you can be creative, where you can encourage other people to do so, because that will save you and buy you time until you have another job that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So try to break that energy of hunkering down, I'm sorry so much is happening to you. You know what? At one point in my life, all this happened to me too. We somehow, there are people that are supposed to, I think, I use this word in my case. We just invite so much chaos in at one time, I did, that it just kind of burned me up, burned that ego up, and made me think new thoughts, made me think out of the box. At one point, I just gave up. It created a surrender that became vitally important to me as I continued on the path I was on. So that seems to be happening to you right now as well. And it's actually good, even though it sure doesn't feel it in the moment. Okay? But it invites openings that I think take years unless you have something like this going on. So I know it doesn't feel like much of a privilege right now, but you'll look back on this honestly. I think most of us do and say, well, I wouldn't wish all this chaos on my worst enemy, but it served its purpose in grace. So I sure do love you and care about you, and I hope that wonderful things are going to be opening for you soon. It's hard right now just because you're not seeing any of the new stuff, but actually it's coming. And there is so much love that you have for your mom, Jay, that's absorbing a lot of your energy. So you don't have a lot of energy left over to find, to put into the excitement of finding something that you really enjoy. So what I want you to do by trying to contribute to where you are in a new way is I want you to buy some time there so that we can eventually put some energy into the excitement of new work for you, because that's when it'll open up and appear. You get more of what you put your energy into, and rightly so. A lot of it belongs with your mom right now, and your concern for her and what you need to do for her. Jay, remind me, how far away? Your mother's about an hour and a half away from you, from where you live?
Well, it's about 3 hours.
3 hours, okay, yeah. And that's tough, That's very tough, having that much space between you. But important.
No, actually, where my mother lives, where my mother lives actually is 6 hours away.
Oh, she lives 6 hours away, but the hospital is 3.
Yeah. 3 hours away.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sweetheart. Well, is there anything I can do for you right now? I think you are handling things as beautifully as you can, and my only advice is what I gave you last week. Make yourself valuable in that workplace, so we can don't be the little rabbit under the bush right now. I need for you to be out and valuable and showing them that you can do this and that kind of thing. It buys you time so you can find something you really enjoy.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I mean, that season has changed, so
it sure is. That's
and a lot of people. It's interesting. A lot of people that I know got laid off throughout, the provinces where I live, were a lot of people who have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. I think the second wave is going to be the long time guys.
Yeah. Are you one of those long time guys?
No.
I'll tell you.
3 in our.
Yeah. I tell you what I see a lot of times in business, and this is me as a business coach. A lot of times businesses let go. I mean, they're not. I think this is unconscionable. So here I am declaring myself. But I do. I think this is absolutely unconscionable. But businesses often let go of their old timers because they're coming up to pensions they don't want to pay, or bonuses, pensions that they don't want to pay. So I think it's awful. And I've seen a lot of people here and in businesses that I indeed have worked for that have experienced that. I think it's awful. Nevertheless, that does happen. The other thing that I see happening is they'll let people go, no matter what their age, that cannot handle a big workload. In other words, the more resilient you prove to be, the more willing you are to take on some things in other departments that they are letting go. The more willing you are to do that and say, "Oh, I like this part. I'll take that. You take this. You take this." And the more you do that, so that they can see this guy handles things so well. This guy thinks like an executive and is divvying up what he wants to do and what other people can do. The more adaptable you are, the more flexible you are with all that, the more they'll keep you. because you can handle more. Now, do you want that to be your life? And not if you're working morning, noon, and night, of course. And that's why I say, then look for another job, particularly if this is the kind of organization. If they are doing this unconscionable thing, the first thing I mentioned to you, which is the letting go of people, that's you when you get there and you're ready to retire. So I would find something else that matches your sensibilities, and who you are more, and honors people more. But until you can be free enough to enjoy the process of getting another job and finding another job, that's how to keep it. Okay? And how to make sure that you are not in this next wave of them letting you go. And I really hope that will not be true for you.
Yeah. Okay, saw this coming a little bit, so.
Did you?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, my love, because I don't think any of these things, and I'll say this, and this is rather a bold statement, I don't think anything like this happens unless Spirit does tell us it's about to happen in some way. We'll have this, I've seen people for years who are they've worked for 30 years at a company, and then the company, and they'll have an idea, maybe I should look into this, or maybe I should take this course and be better at this, or maybe I should, and sure enough, they don't move on it, and something happens. Now, what I want people to understand, you do understand, but I want people to understand, that's the voice of God through you. They're telling you how to surf in on that wave of change so that you're right on the cutting edge. You're right on the edge so that you'll be all right. But people will not move on that. So good for you seeing it. And good for you not having lost your job. Good for you knowing that you can prove to them that you're one of the resilient, fabulous people, but find something else, because these people are not good people if they're letting, I'm not sure that that's what they're doing, but if they're letting people go that deserve a good pension and a good bonus to their pension, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then that doesn't match anymore. My mom's dad worked for the U.S. Tobacco Company. And this was years ago, before we knew really that cigarettes caused cancer and all that kind of stuff. So she had a little stock that was in this company, because they paid my grandfather sometimes in stock. All right. When all of this came out, my mother was still alive when the scandal broke that they were spiking cigarettes and spiking all that. And, my mother was brokenhearted. My mother was brokenhearted because this stock was her father. We often do that, by the way, with stocks. We often link them to emotional experiences. Not a good thing to do, because stock's just stock, kids. But she had linked this to her father. So all of a sudden, she sees it isn't her father at all. He was a very sweet, honorable, passive, kind, gentle man. And she was very, very old, very sick at this time. And I was over there at her house, and she said, "What should I do? Should I sell this stock or not?" And I said, "Well, Mother, I cannot answer that for you, because this is yours. However, I can say that as long as you keep that stock, you're in business with these people. And if you're in business with these people, now that this has come to light, they're not your kind of people. They're not what you thought they were. But what you do with this, do I think you're going to lose money from this? Only momentarily. Because they have all this all over the world, and everybody in Europe smokes. But if you do not agree with their practices, or with cigarettes, knowing what you know now, That's something else again. So she heard me. I really wasn't trying to get her to do one thing or another, but why do you want to be in business with people that are not matching your values? You can't be, not really. Not in peace. So that's what you're saying to me, sweetheart, right now. Is there may be a value issue here. And if so, then it's time to move on. But again, your sticky problem here is that you've got a lot of energy connected to mother, as it should be. It's very hard to be excited about moving on and really look around at the world and say, what do I want to do next? When you're losing your beloved mother in one way or another, So it's a sticky business. That's why I keep saying, well, here's how to buy a little more time at this place. And then you can move on. I'd like it to be your decision. That's all, honey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Jay, I love you with all my heart. So, right here if you need me.
Yes, love it for your energy, and yeah, thank you so much.
You take good care of yourself. You keep me informed about your mom too, please. When you get up there, when are you going to get up there next?
I'm not sure. If she requests that I do, I'll go down there. So.
Okay. Well, whenever. I'd love to know what's going on, but drop me a line or give me a call. Okay.
Okay.
Take care of your sweet self.
Yep. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Going to another caller. I think I can get another call in. Hi. I'm talking to a 914 exchange. To whom am I speaking?
Hi, my name is Catherine.
Hey, Catherine. How are you?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. What can I do for you today, Catherine?
I'm wondering if you see work going better for me. It's kind of been few and far in between, but I have, been chipping away at my own projects.
Yes.
So I guess I'm wondering if you see that going well.
Yes, indeed, I do. In what aspect? I am unclear. However, I want you to know that, but I see something going better. It looks like something is coming in for you. Now, you are in business for yourself, Catherine?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
Okay. Okay. This doesn't feel like it has to do, except indirectly, with any of your projects. I'm not quite sure why. This feels like something coming in that doesn't have to do with anything, and something that you will then create. Does that make sense to you at all?
If it doesn't have to do with my project, I'm wondering if it's this man, Michael, who's been telling me he'd give me a job for quite a while.
I think so.
But I
something
haven't heard back.
I think it's Michael or something else like Michael. Yes, but it might be this, because that's what it feels like. It feels to me like that you're working on these things, but something else is coming in that is not about the current thing that you're working on. So I would say it is probably Michael or something like Michael that is happening.
Oh, good.
And it was a definitive yes that was coming in. So I think it's on its way now. Quite frankly, it's in your.
It's been a while.
Yeah, Catherine, it's in your energy field. So if I were you, I'd go on and pursue it. Knowing that it might come from something, a different way in addition to this. I mean, I don't say abandon your project, but I say go on and follow that lead that you already have. Let's see where that goes.
Okay. Is it something creative, do you think? Because that's what I'm really into, artistic.
Yes, it is not as creative as what you have been creating, however.
Okay.
the project that you have been doing does use your creative skills, and there's a certain freedom in that for you to create. But this is not going to use all of your talents. So I don't want you to abandon what you've been working on. I simply want you to add this so you can make some money.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes we have to do that. And what I've found is when Spirit asks me to do something like that, there's always a benefit in some way. It either secures me more to the creative thing that I was working on and dedicates me more to that, or it teaches me something that will be a marvelous addition and a way and gives me a better way for me to. It gives me a different way of looking at it. It gives me a different perspective on things. So I think that's what's about to happen to you. So you cannot look to this job as the full creative, this is my life purpose experience. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a good way of making money, and it's right here in your lap. So by all means, go there.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. I appreciate it greatly. I thank you for the compassion you showed me in that last caller. That was really nice.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I have such compassion for us all. I mean that with all my heart. You just see everybody in the world trying in their own way. We're all trying so hard, and I feel a real strong mission to make life easier in some way, and it is an energy level of consciousness. It is not in the spinning around energy we do. It's in a deeper level. I will say to you, Catherine, as I say to Jay and all our friends that are listening, all of you have it in you. All the answers are right there in God, and you just need to kind of listen to the inner and give yourself some space, and then have courage and go on and do it. You're going to be fine, Catherine. Don't you worry about yourself, okay? But follow this lead, my darling, please, okay?
Yes, indeed. Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yes, yes, I will. Thank you.
Good for you. You take good, sweet care of yourself now, okay? Bye-bye.
Thank you. You as well. Many blessings. Thank you so much.
And to you, sweetie. All right. Now we're going to another call. I'm going to try to squeeze this one in, too. Hello. This is a 248 exchange. This is Martha. Hi.
Oh, hi, Martha. I was just listening.
Oh, okay. You just listened? Well, well, I've got you on the line now. Darling, what do you...
Now I'm sunk.
Now you're sunk. What's your first name?
Jennifer.
Oh, I hate Jennifer. I've talked to you before, haven't I? Jennifer, what do you think about all this that we're talking about today?
To be honest, I just started listening.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's just fine. If there's nothing I can do for you, that's just fine. But we're so glad that you tuned in at whatever time. We're about to end our show, so by all means, go back to Blog Talk Radio and listen. By the way, you're giving me a great opportunity. Forgive me for taking it, but you're giving me a great opportunity to say, ladies and gentlemen, we have, gosh, I don't know, 50, 75, 100 shows mounted there. They're all free. They're all archived. And they're sometimes about various subjects, so like relationships or consciousness or all sorts of things that are there. I do encourage everybody to go back and listen to these shows because they are mounted because they're good. I take the ones off that... that aren't very good. So please listen to those. They will help, and they'll certainly tell you more about our program. Well, Jennifer, I'm going to just leave you open and on
Martha,
the line.
Can I ask you?
Well, of course you can.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How do you feel like your gifts have changed over the years?
Oh my God, what a good question that is. Here's how. When I was in the ego child's mind a lot, I think I had these undeveloped talents. They were not developed. I had other talents. I mean, I could write back then. I could write dialogue real well, particularly. I could act reasonably well. I mean, I was able to do enough to make a good living about things. I was a good lecturer. I was a good coach. I could help people. Not like I can now, though, because now there is more of a developed mind. These days, I don't tend to listen. There is no me. I'm real comfortable with getting myself out of the way, and for whatever amount I can access of the guides, my highest and most love-centered guides, and yours, I can access more, and the material tends to be much deeper, more profound, more to the point, and there is an element where I think if Martha were just doing this without any guidance at all, nobody would listen to her. I think that because these are the energies of the higher self, as you go deeper and deeper into all this, people do listen. There is an authority there that is the highest self authority, and not Martha's little Martha thinks about this at all. That's gone, and should be, if I am speaking to dear people and wanting to help. Martha doesn't have, I always tease, but I honestly, this is true, I always say that Martha doesn't have enough sense to do this work, but I get out of the way. And that's what I can do. I'm very comfortable with getting out of the way. I'm very comfortable these days with saying I know nothing, so that Spirit through me knows everything, and here we are. So that's how it's changed.
When your guides speak,
mm-hmm.
When your guides speak to you,
yes.
Do you listen, or do sometimes you say, "I'm not so interested"?
No, I never say that. Because if they're speaking to me, they're speaking to me for a reason. And when I'm on the phone with you, I am not. I am often hearing it at the same time I'm speaking it, because I just talk right after them. So I am only speaking what they tell me to speak, and I'm being silent when they don't tell me anything. That's what I do. There's no I think.
Well, thank you for being of service.
I hope I am. You know, that's for you all to determine. I try to live right. I try not to eat too much sugar, which takes me out of the right mind. I try to meditate. I try to get enough sleep. I try to, live the way I'm supposed to live, to be in the balance that I was talking about earlier. But that's all I can do, and make sure I'm there before I go on the air or have a client in front of me. I really feel very privileged to do what I do, but it's not an egoic, oh, look what I do. I could care less. I don't even act anymore because I could care less what other people think. I really mean that. I just want to speak for whatever kind of level of God I can access today. And that's really honestly the way I feel.
90 seconds.
Darling, I'm going to have to run because I just got the 90 seconds thing.
Thank you.
So I hope to talk with you again. Take care now.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening today. We'll be back next week. Please, if you have enjoyed this show and others that we do, I would so appreciate your following us, your sharing us, and sending this around to your social media. Please,
60 seconds.
Please like us and all that stuff that seems to matter to Facebook Live and other people that are listening. We would so appreciate that. And now I wish you all the best. And I certainly do this for you. So, dear God, thank you for it all and for these dear people and our experience with each other today. Thank you for everything, guys. We'll be back next week, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be talking about a variety of things. Call in. We'd love to talk to you. Take care now, and have a great, great week. In balance. Take care. Bye-bye.